Hey, sports fans, welcome on in. It is the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here on YouTube. So glad you could join our show. You know what today is? It's Friday. It's Fantastic Friday. It's Fun Friday. It's Freaky Friday. It's Football Friday. We got Friday all weekend. We have Friday all weekend. Did I say Friday all weekend? We have football all weekend. It is Friday. It's fun. So let's have a good time today. Thank you for joining in on the show. And thank you for all of your, just love and kindness and goodness and the people that you are. So congratulations for being good people. Are you ready to get down and dirty? Let's do it. Let's get down and dirty. All right. Gosh darn it. I got a frog and I don't know where he came from, but he visited me just the minute I started speaking. All right, we got some hot headlines for the day. Of course, these are the things I like to talk about. I find interesting, and I hope you do as well. Uh, 5 football players apparently have lost their ploy for another year, right? So basically what they were is they played 4 years. They played all 4 years, and of course the rule is it's 5 to play 4. There's medical red shirts. There's Cam Rising from the University of Utah that basically played for a decade. Don't know how all that happened, but it did, and we thought he would never leave. Not in a mean way. I don't mean that at all mean, but for the most part, you get 4 years to play 5. You have a red shirt. Now, they've done some things with the red shirt where they've actually let players play up to an accumulation of 4 games. So you kind of get a taste of things. Coaches kind of strategically do this. They let those players get in. They let them, kind of feel what it's like. They get game experience. It's kind of a nice little, hey, let's take the Mercedes out for, well, actually I should use let's take the convertible Corvette, even if it's a thing. Just do Corvette. It doesn't matter. What matters is that they get to test the water. So there were 5 players. It's kind of funny. Most of them are like long snappers, punters, kickers. Of course, there was a linebacker from Vanderbilt who was petitioning to get an extra year, and they're kind of arguing that we still get something. We should get this extra year. We didn't redshirt. We didn't do anything. We didn't play, that 4-game period. And the judge said no. Said no, I'm not going to do it. Now there's other players, and all of this is interesting because it's leading me to a point. There were another group of players, of course, Trinidad Chambliss and Diego Pavia are trying to seek another year of eligibility. Of course, Trinidad is at Ole Miss. Diego is at Vanderbilt. It seems like everybody at Vanderbilt wants to continue to play. Vanderbilt must be a nice place. It must be a nice place to play football. Looks like they kind of up their game a little bit in the SEC. That should give you an indication of where the SEC is. If Vanderbilt is doing well, and then your conference is suffering. Nothing against Vanderbilt. I know it's a great school. It's got a lot of great, wonderful things, but it's not known as a football power. So take it for what it's worth. It's why we call it the down and dirty. This is all interesting. Now their situations are somewhat different, but similar. Everyone seems to be trying to get an extra year. They want more time. They want more college time. Now, of course, there's another player, and of course, he wasn't petitioning the NCAA for more playing time, but Dante Moore at Oregon has decided to not enter the draft. He's considered probably one of the top prospects in the draft, and he's coming back to Oregon. Of course, Dylan Raiola, who was at Nebraska, decided to go to Oregon, and looks like he's willing to sit a year to get an opportunity to play at Oregon. Now, Dylan's played quite a bit in college football already. Played as a freshman, and it looks like a poor man's Patrick Mahomes. It's strange watching him. Same number, the whole thing, trained by the same people, blah blah blah, yada yada, all that good stuff. And he's decided to go to Oregon. I bring all of this up because I'm trying to make a point. And maybe this is a trend, and maybe it's a new trend that's happening in college football, in the sense that these players are understanding, they're starting to recognize the value of playing more, not Dante Moore, but playing more time, meaning more time. Where in the past it's like, man, I'm in, I'm out, boom, I'm gone. I want to go to the pros. I wonder if it's and I think it's a great thing. I'm very happy for it. I think it's wonderful. I think it's amazing that this has happened, and I think it ultimately will be good for these players. I ultimately think it will be good for the NFL, for college football, for everyone. And it's about the product you put on the field, right? And so if you get these players who understand the game more, who 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 have game experience, you don't see these just train wreck, just really hard to watch performances from these players because they have more experience. Now I want to hope, and I'm thinking of this from like a purist perspective. It's about the game. It's about really mastering my craft. It's about really understanding how to be a better player, and how that when I get to the next level, I'll be that much more prepared. I'll be that much more mature. I'll be able to have success earlier on in my career. And I hope that's the reason. But the reality is it's probably not, right? I think maybe part of the reason is money. Like, these guys aren't starving now. Like, these guys are doing quite well. Most of them are making, more than $1 million. A lot of them are making more than $1 million a year. I mean, you get now. I don't know if they've had the tax man come yet, because the tax man's very humbling, by the way. You go, oh, this kid's making $5 million a year, and it's like, no, no, that kid's making $2.5 million a year, or that's what you're going to get. Now, $2.5 million is still really nice. I guarantee you, these guys are just blowing this money. Like, they're having a good time. That we're going out to dinner all the time. I got a new car, probably bought a house. I got all this stuff. I'm paying people all this, whatever. I mean, they're living large, and good for them. But it doesn't last forever. It's not generational money. It's not lifetime money. It's money you could really set yourself up with if you did it right and smart. And I guarantee you, you're gonna hear down the road, I don't know, 5 or 10 years from now, and you're gonna hear all these guys, these stories where all these guys just blew all this money. So I think it's like, hey, and this isn't a bad way to think of this. Let's stay in school, because the ultimate thing is experience, and the only way you're gonna get experience is to play. And it doesn't matter. I'm just telling you, I know we've talked about this before. It does not matter where you get the experience. Kurt Warner will tell you, I got the experience in the Barnstormers and in the arena football. In my career, early on, I went and played in the World League. Just the best experience I could imagine having. It made me so much more prepared, and I'd already been in the NFL. I didn't play. I played in the preseason. Preseason was like the Super Bowl, by the way, when you're a young player and you're just trying to make a team. But man, it was just so invaluable. It was wonderful. One of the best times I've ever had playing football. So the idea of like staying in school is good. But these players go, okay, I stay in school, I get more experience. It's wonderful. I love it, and I'm getting paid to do it. I'm not some broke college student. I remember being in college, not being able to even have a job. So when you're on scholarship in school, you can't work. A lot of students will go to school and work at the same time. I mean, you have enough time. There's a lot of flexibility in your schedule, and it's a good thing. It's a great thing to go be able to do. But as an athlete, you can't do it. And you there's a different time commitment. You've got a lot of extra work and things you have to do, but you couldn't work. And I remember I couldn't wait till we started recruiting season, because I got $100 a night to take a recruit out and host a recruit. And $100, I don't know what it was for. We had a dinner, it was a Friday, Saturday thing. So we had dinner on Friday night, dinner on Saturday night. So they weren't hungry. And I just and so I my job was hosting recruits, and I tried to save as much of the $100 as I possibly could for myself. And so, but now it's like it's I would imagine they probably give them the same amount of money, but it's a it's certainly a different world with these recruits. We had Kyle Whittingham, head coach at the University of Michigan, on yesterday, and he's brought up something I thought was really interesting. And he talked about, because I want to know, like, when you talk to recruits, what's the thing that moves the needle? What's the number one thing? And it's all about money. Uh, first question, everything is always about money with every single player today. That's where it is. I mean, that's the name of the game for these players. So here we have all these players who are deciding to come back to school, and they're going, well, yeah, because I get paid to do this. And maybe some of them are like, I'm not going to make this kind of money if I'm out on the street, because some of these guys are not quarterbacks. Some of them are, some of them aren't. And they understand, one, money, and that I'm going to get paid money, but money also gives you the luxury of waiting and having patience. But here's another side of it that I think is interesting. And if they're and I don't know if they're savvy enough to think about this, but as I've thought through this, I'm like, here's another unintended consequence, especially for these quarterbacks, of having more experience, being more prepared to go in the NFL. Okay, so and Zach Wilson's a really good example of this for me. I thought Zach was a really good player. I didn't think he was the second player in the draft good, but I thought he was a really good player. I believe that had I was 1000% opposed to him leaving and leaving BYU and going into the NFL draft. I mean, I believe he had 2 years of eligibility left. He played basically 2 years. He'd had a redshirt year. He kind of played sporadically as a freshman. His sophomore year was COVID. BYU is one of the few schools in the country that actually fielded a 12 season game, or 12, yeah, a 12 game season. And he played lights out against not really great competition. He had 1 year, and you see this with a lot of players. Back when I was playing, Achilles Smith had 1 year at Oregon, and boy, they were just all over Achilles Smith. Very similar situation. He was a top 5 pick in the draft, came to the Bengals, clearly not ready to play. Just not, for whatever reason. I can't say why. I can't say why not. Well, yeah, I can say why. He just wasn't ready to play. He just didn't grasp the game, the program, the pro game, the speed of it, the decisions, the concepts. It wasn't very natural to him, and he was an incredible athlete. Like, he throw the heck out of the football, but he just didn't have a good feel for making quick decisions at that time, and really understanding how to play quarterback. And so, you take these players, and so they have this. They're drafted early. All this stuff is beautiful. So they got a great situation, right? They got some money up front, and then they weren't any good, right? Or they weren't perceived to be any good. And so it's a hot seat. They don't address it. They don't play well, and then they go and they just they try to bounce around to a couple of places. They're not thought of as an answer. They're not really given a lot of opportunity to really prove, because what you need to understand, there's one football on a football team. There's one quarterback that gets to play. That's it. And there's so many reps in a day. There's just not that many reps. And so how do you share enough reps? When I had Tom Moore on a few days ago, and he's like, we don't practice F. We don't practice our backup. We don't practice, the starter gets most of the reps. Now in fall camp and all that stuff, it's a different deal. Fall camp's going away. Like, there's not a lot of preseason anymore. There's not a lot of opportunity for young quarterbacks to develop. If the NFL was really smart, they would take all these young quarterbacks, put them in this spring league, and let the really good quarterbacks play in that league. It would dramatically improve every team in the NFL. I'm just telling you. It's almost, and I don't know how big an impact the G League actually has, in the NBA. You know, there's certainly, a number of players in the G League, that have that opportunity, but it is invaluable, most invaluable to quarterbacks to get game experience. So so going back to my Zach Wilson situation here, these quarterbacks like Dante Moore, Dylan Wright, Bo Nix, all these guys that stayed in college, I hope, if they don't, everyone please listen to me. If you are more prepared when you go to the pros, so let's say Zach Wilson plays 2 more years, different player, and let's say he's drafted, I don't care. Let's say he's drafted 10th. Let's say he's drafted in 15 a few years later. Who cares? I mean, Patrick Mahomes was kind of around that area. But if you're a first round draft pick quarterback, wherever, Jackson Dart, late first round, you're going to play. You're just going to play. You're going to play there's going to be so much pressure to get you in and play. Now that you've had more experience, now that you're much more ready for the game, and the game, by the way, has been watered down to help you. Like, this is where you really make your money. Okay, fine, you got $4 million in college, but and even your signing bonus, and even your first couple of years in the NFL, and I'm not knocking, somewhere in the neighborhood of putting $20 million in your pocket, and I'm talking after taxes, all that stuff. You put $20 million in your pocket. That's amazing. But if you come in early, like some of these guys, so Bo Nix is on the verge of this. He's now into his second year, but you look at guys like Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence played longer. He was the first pick in the draft. It was questionable about him. Bryce Young is kind of on the verge of that. You've seen Tua, who came in and showed enough to get contract number 2. And that's the difference. That's the money. That's where you go, "Oh my goodness, this is this is where," and it's crazy money. It's monopoly money. It's generational money. It sets you up for the rest of your life money. And so I just wonder, and I hope they're smart enough to figure this out, because it is all about money. And these players go, "I don't have the pressure. I can stay in college. I can get more experience." You don't see very often. You just don't see quarterbacks get injured. Like, the rules are different, so the risk of getting injured, staying longer, just it's minimal. It's not even. I don't even think it's a thing, for quarterbacks. But the value of going into the NFL so much more prepared gives you an opportunity to play at a higher level earlier, because you're under a microscope in the NFL, and you want to play. Jaden Daniels. It'll be interesting because Jaden Daniels didn't have a great year this year. He was injured. Does he bounce back from that? Bryce Young wasn't looking good early for him. Got his team in the playoffs, got it within a whisker of winning a playoff game, made a beautiful throw to late in the game so he's making strides. CJ Stroud had a nice splash early on, and of course he's digressed a little bit. Does he bounce back from this? And really the question is, do they bounce back in a way where they get paid a second time? And to staying in college, and that's a strategy. And if you have half a brain, that's a phenomenal strategy to have. Joe Burrow was so prepared when he came and I don't know if, by design, whatever, of just circumstances, because he wasn't great as a junior, but man, he really turned into something. Cam Ward really turned into something, his last year. A lot of these guys, a lot of them. Bo Nix was a guy who really got to the best of where he was and was so much more prepared for his transition to the NFL. Now, it's still a transition. It's not easy. But if these guys are really doing this on purpose, if they're really staying in school to really better It's not the first contract in the NFL, it's the second one. And if they're looking to that, man, I'm gonna just say y'all are smart. Like you're really smart. And I hope they are. And if they aren't, I hope they hear this and say, I'm gonna stay in school and I'm gonna stick with a program. I don't know that it's even bad for a player to to stay at a program and sit for a while. Tom Brady will tell you about his experience at Michigan, massively competitive, was a guy that stuck it out, fought through a lot of things, and made him a much more resilient, a tougher, more competitive guy just because he had to fight through and kind of fight his way to winning. It's like those little baby turtles. No one cracks the shell for them, or really birds or any of them. You gotta crack out of your own shell, and that's where you find the strength to fly and to be successful. So be a little baby turtle, stay in the egg as long as you can. All right, we're gonna take a break. We come back. Oh boy, oh boy, we got some NFL stuff coming up. Can't wait to talk about it. Right here, down and dirty. We'll be back just a sec.
You probably get unwanted emails almost every single day.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
Have you ever wondered why so many pet parents are choosing to have virtual vet appointments? Online veterinary care is making it easier than ever to get expert advice for your pet. Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns and expand access to pet care. Book your first appointment today.
Alrighty, sports fans, welcome back. This is the Down and Dirty. So glad you could join us today. A lot of fun stuff to talk about. If you're a young college quarterback, stay in school. Stay in school so you can get that second contract in the NFL. If we've learned anything today, we've learned that. It's not your first deal, it's your second deal in the NFL. It will lock you in for life. Look, they're starved for great quarterbacks in the NFL. They'll do anything. They'll pay anything. They'll pay anyone a second contract. If you show any signs of life, if you're breathing, if you're walking upright, if you have all your appendages, you can get a second contract in the NFL. And that's what you want. All right. Exciting stuff going on in the NFL. Of course, this is the NFL News of Notes. And we like to talk about the NFL every day. It's on everyone's mind all the time. It's the religion of our country. It's what we really aspire to be, what we know. And we want to make sure that all of you get the best and the most insightful NFL news you can. It's 365, 24/7, all of those numbers added together. We cannot ever get enough of the NFL. All right, this weekend, this is the divisional round. Of course, the teams that, they took some time off. And we'll talk a little bit later about is that Is it worth it? Is it an advantage? Is it better? Who knows? I know, and I don't think it's the same all the time, but we'll talk about it. Okay, so Denver plays Buffalo in the first round on Saturday. Of course, Buffalo is at Denver. I am kind of really liking the Bills right now, which means they're probably going to lose. I don't know. It just feels like it might be Josh Allen's year. We'll find out. But kind of leading up to the game, I'd like to get a flavor of some of the comments from the players. So here's what Bo Nix had to say about this week's matchup.
Bo, how'd you spend your off week? I mean, was it much of an off week by week?
Yeah, it was a good time to rest a little bit. We got a few practices in, trained a little bit, worked out, ran, tried to get in a little bit more shape, just get ready for this run we're going to try to make. And the rest was good, and I think practice was good today because of it. Got a good week off, and I think we got to start fast on Saturday, but hopefully that rest will allow us to play full speed the whole entire game.
But what do you expect your first home playoff game to be like?
I expect it to be extremely loud. I expect it to be a great environment, similar to what it's been recently, the past several home games. But something tells me it'll be kicked up a notch just because it's got playoffs on it. And it's a good team coming in, so a good team with a good fan base. So I expect it to be a great environment. Saturday, normal kickoff time. It's going to be a fun time.
Well, Sean's talked about the 2-minute drill and how important that is in these playoff games. I guess what makes you comfortable in those moments? And I think 7-game winning drives this year. What makes you comfortable in those moments that you're able to find success?
Well, if this past weekend, almost all of them ended in a 1-score game, 2-minute drill. So that's just how the game's played. You got to practice it to feel comfortable with it. And I feel like we've gotten some really good practice with situations and with 2-minute and with clock running down situations. And we've been in those situations this year, so we have some game experience. And I think once you do it a couple times and you succeed with it, it just makes it easier and easier.
All right, there you have Bo Nix. I hate to say this, but this game really hinges on him. And it's so much of, is he ready for the moment of a big game, home playoff game? And, we'll see. I mean, he's handled it marvelously this year. That's the really big leap that young players make, is when they, they'll statistically do well, this and that, whatever. It feels like they handle the game. They stop throwing all the interceptions and all that stuff. But then it's like, you got to figure out how to close out and win games. And I think that's one of the things Bo Nix probably did the best of this year. Last week was all about the 2-minute drill. It's all about finishing out games. It's always that way. I don't think that's ever changed. I don't think it'll ever change in the NFL. So this is going to be a great test. It was interesting that he talked about, just getting rest. And we'll see if that's a benefit or not to the Broncos, especially with young teams, young quarterbacks. A lot of times it's rhythm is more important than rest, and staying in a rhythm. It's like, okay, we're on a roll right now. Let's just keep it going. And you hope that the week off doesn't kind of throw that off or, mess with the rhythm of everything. Because he did mention kind of getting back into shape a little bit. And that's a thing. You go through the whole season and you're not on the same regimen as far as your there's a level of exercise and weights and all that and conditioning. But, a lot of it's just recovering every week and that kind of diminishes. So all these are factors that play into teams having success or not. We'll find out. I love this matchup. I mean, I think it's just an awesome matchup, and it's kind of this wily veteran Josh Allen. Can he get the schneid off his back? And, if Josh Allen, say they go to Jacksonville, to go to Denver, now they've won a couple of playoff games on the road. And watch out, because that really gives you that confidence. It gives you kind of talk about getting on a roll type of thing, and those are the things that really kind of propel you into the playoffs a lot. Been a lot of teams that have followed this path and done well, and it's been that galvanizing experience that gives them that toughness to win those big games. But here's what Josh Allen had to say about this week's game.
Would it be easier to ask what doesn't hurt on you?
I feel good. Honestly, I feel better than I have the last few weeks. I know it's a Tuesday for us, but on a Wednesday type mindset. So, I feel good.
Where's your toughness gene come from? Can you track it back?
I don't know. I obviously country boy, out in the middle of nowhere. My worst fear as a kid was missing games. Like, even when I got in trouble, my parents would threaten like missing a game and not playing in it, and I was like, all right, I'll behave, So I don't know. I just love being out there.
Your wide receiver room takes multiple hits. Now, how do you guys move forward with legitimately half of the receivers you had 4 days ago?
Yeah, obviously not an ideal situation, but I still trust that room completely. Whoever we bring up needs to step up, and we have full confidence that they will. This week is going to be very important throughout the practices that we have, of making sure that we're getting on the same page with timing and just understanding where guys can go. Try to utilize their strengths to the best of our abilities. But I got no doubt that whoever's going to be up in those spots is going to do their job, step up, and then help us win or help us make plays.
Some uncertainty about the guys who might be up in those spots, but the guys who have been in those spots, where have you seen the growth from right now? Obviously a lot of plays in the last game.
Yeah, I mean, he showed up huge for us the last few games. Like I said, weeks ago, a true vet, just continues to work hard. You see him, he's one of the last guys out here. He's always in the weight room, always in the training room. He's a great teammate to have, and we love having him.
All right, there you have Josh Allen. He talks about kind of the rhythm of everything, and he said, look, I feel good, right? But you have that shorter day on the road. Jacksonville's not a really far place to travel. Denver is not the worst place, but there is a travel factor in this game, and it's just a thing. It makes it harder. There is some fatigue that comes from travel. You're just not quite right or quite where you are sometimes. And maybe the fatigue and the week off with the Broncos, maybe those are like mitigating factors. They don't play into this. When I look at all this stuff, just so you know, I look at all the nitty gritty, just tiniest of details, the tiniest comments, the tiniest like look in players' eyes when they're asked a question. What's their reaction to the question, and the fact that he's got to answer a question about having teammates and guys that they've counted on being out, which is what's happening here. There's kind of like, oh man, because it's like you have your guys in there, and you develop a rhythm, you develop a confidence, you develop the symbiotic like trust and feel for each other. And then just all of a sudden go, okay, we're in the most important game of the year, and we're throwing a new dude in there, and sometimes it works well. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. Sometimes it's one of those things where guy just doesn't know he's supposed to not be performing so well, that it's really hard, to get a guy up to speed, up to that game level, up to that confidence with your quarterback. And it's not, it's not an easy thing to replace. And I experienced that before with players. I think of Brett Perriman's one time got injured in a playoff game, and it was and he got injured in the game. And so it was, and he played all year long, and we had an amazing year. And it was tough to replace that relationship and that level of production. And it takes time to get there. So, that's a factor for Buffalo. But the real factor to me with the Buffalo Bills, it's Josh Allen, right? And he's the he's the eraser on the end of the pencil. He's the guy that, yeah, okay, I can make stuff happen. And when you get into this time of year, it's one of those, they talk about the energy, the tempo of everything, the level of play just gets elevated in the playoffs. And that's one of those things. I think that's the kind of down and dirty secret of Josh Allen, where his superpower comes out and you just go, Josh Allen's willed a lot of playoff wins because of Josh Allen. He has 8, by the way, and still hasn't won. It's the most by anyone who hasn't won a Super Bowl. So Josh Allen shows up in the playoffs. He really does. Now, there was another funny thing that happened in his interview about parenting. Like, what are we doing as parents? It's like, we're always, we don't want to disrupt the children. And his parents said, look, if you don't straighten up, you're not playing. That's it. Boom, done. End of discussion. What a concept, parents. Take the phones away, take the game away, and you'll have angels. Your children are angels. That's what will happen. So Josh Allen, yeah, he's going to bring it. Now, everyone gets into all these statistics, and I think Denver's a tough place to play. I think Josh Allen is a guy that goes, look, I played in all these tough places. I played tough teams. I don't know that the crowd really impacts Josh Allen. It just felt like, I know this will sound stupid, but it just felt like he's ready for this. Like, he's like, yeah, bring it on. I'm just a guy that loves to show up and loves to play. And I think he does. I think he really does show up and he plays. And it just feels like it's Josh Allen's year. And the Broncos to me have been a team, won a lot of games this year closely. And there comes a point when, when you win games close in the season, there's not the finality of it. Like, there's always next week. And I just wonder if the close, like the do or die situation, elimination mindset, what kind of impact does it have? What kind of pressure does it put on someone like Bo Nix? And by the way, I'm a big Bo Nix fan. Have been from the time he was at Oregon. Just super impressed with who he is. Seems to handle things quite well. It really matured a lot as a player, and so we'll see. We'll see how all of that works out. But it's going to be a great matchup. It feels like one of those games. It's just going to be. It's going to be a down and dirty game. It's going to be back and forth. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a close one, and would not be surprised if Josh Allen pulls this out at the end of the day. I really think that's a possibility. All right. The Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers. All right. Give me some stuff on the Seahawks. What do we got?
Hey, how you feeling?
Feel good. Obviously, just in routes on air, just kind of felt a little something in my oblique. Just didn't want to push it. Wasn't the day to push it, so that was it. So just came inside, got some rehab, and feel like I'll be ready to go for Saturday.
That was just today that happened?
Yeah.
You ever had anything, oblique issues or anything?
No, never had oblique issues, but it's fun. We'll attack it the next couple days and be ready to go for Saturday.
Is this on throwing side?
It's just on my left side. It is what it is, but yeah, again, like I said, felt it on a throw, but we'll be ready to go.
What percent of you thinks you might not play?
It's a very low percentage, probably closer to 0.
Aside, obviously, that's what everyone's out. Just
Correct.
Aside from that, how do you feel like this week went team-wise in terms of playoffs, any distraction there could be from that?
Yeah, I think for us, we're treating it, just another week, another game. That's how everyone, especially in that locker room, we got such great guys in that locker room, mature, leaders at every position group. So everyone's just ready to go, attacking the week, per usual, and getting ready to go up against a really good 49ers team. That's been rolling, and we're excited to go up against them.
What did you learn about the playoffs
Yeah, I think you know, it was a little bit different too, just because it was a neutral site game, being in Arizona with, you know, the fires and whatnot that happened in LA. So that neutral site game was a little bit different. But I think for me, like, it's just continuing to treat it as another week, just like I did last year, but just having that same mindset and you know, I guess letting the guys know, maybe, you know, it's just another game. Obviously, you prepare the same way, but when we get out there, we know Lumen's going to be rocking. So it's, you know, it's an important game. You know, we don't get it twisted at all. Like, we understand, you know, the implications of the game, the playoffs. It's awesome to be playing in games like this, especially in January. But yeah, we're treating this week as another week, and we're excited about it.
Oh boy, oblique. I don't even know where I don't even know where your oblique is. I don't even know how to spell it. I don't know. It sounds like it's something that happens from throwing. I actually got an injury from throwing. Just a tweet, and I'm glad it's not an issue. You know, you hate to have that conversation about all of it. If you are having the conversation about it, it's not nothing, right? So it's like, oh yeah, there's zero chance of me not playing. I'm sure that's the case. But, you know, how much of an impact does and will that have? Who knows? Again, it's another one of those little kind of details that make you wonder about this game. The thing I think that was fascinating to me in this in hearing this interview is it's just another game, and there's a fine line between, you know, there's always has to be this calm in the chaos, right? If you're a quarterback, you're playing, you got to just, you can't let all the noise and everything going around you and the bombs blowing up and people trying to, you know, hurt you and rip your head off and tackle you and all that stuff, and the noise and just everything that goes into all of this. Yeah, you gotta treat it just like, hey, you know, we do this all the time. It's not, but then it's like, on the other hand, he said, well, you know, this game, we understand the significance of it. And so I think you just own it and just say, look, we got to up the level of our game. Like it isn't a normal game. It's not just another game. Like, it's not just another game because if you lose, it's over. And every other game during the season is not that way. I mean, there are points in the season where you go, look, if we lose another game this year, we're going to be out of the playoffs. And it's funny how teams kind of up their level of intensity when they realize what's on the line. And I wonder if, you know, I don't want to, I just, you know, the knock on Sam Darnold is, you know, can he, you know, what does he show up in these big games? You know, he had kind of didn't before, and he's had some, you know, a lot of interception games this year and what have you. And again, I'm a Sam Darnold fan. I want this guy to succeed. I really do. I love the redemption of him. I love the perseverance of Sam Darnold. But this isn't just another game. And I hope maybe he's just like giving the media just kind of, oh yeah, you know, this is just a game, you know, it's not a big deal. But we understand. Don't get me wrong now. Kind of mindset. We'll see what happens. I wonder, you know, when you kind of get these tweak injuries, you know, I wonder if it comes from taking a break or something and then jumping back into it. You kind of all of a sudden, you know, go too hard or something, you know, you're all amped up because it's playoff week kind of stuff. And that's where an injury comes from. Who knows? I don't know, but it's fascinating. All right. They play the 49ers, which is a very familiar opponent. Brock Purdy had to say this about the game.
Biggest challenge of facing a team twice in 3 weeks?
Man, I think, you know, just finding obviously what had happened in the last game and what adjustments you can make, but also, like, man, we just played them 2 weeks ago. So looking back at the other game plan as well and having it sort of fresh in your mind and picking it up where you left off and obviously making some changes where you need to. But, yeah, it feels like we just played them. So
they were obviously effective against you. You go into it thinking, okay, they're going to like do the same thing, or do you figure, no, they're going to mix it up since we just saw them, or do you not worry about any of that, like Kyle and coaches worry about, you know, how they might attack or whatever tweaks they might have?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we look at the last game that's most recent, 2 weeks ago, and then you still got to look at, the whole season and, how they played just in general and who they are as a defense and stuff. But obviously Kyle and the coaches do a great job with understanding, where we weren't great, where we were good, and what we can continue to be good at and build on those kind of things. But, they do a good job with that. Like Kyle's done it, year after year where we've played teams pretty quickly, like a quick turnaround, and has made some pretty good adjustments and stuff. But at the end of the day, too, like you got to go out and execute and play a physical game, man, and execute on third down, stay on the field, and you can draw up all the plays that you want. But at the end of the day, man, can I be better than the guy across from me and do it longer? So
you've done nothing but win up in Seattle. So when friends ask you to describe the environment and what it's like to win up there, what do you tell them?
Yeah, it's one of the hardest places to play when it comes to the environment and the fans, and every down matters, and you have to be on point with everything, your communication, the operation, things like that, because it all matters, it all adds up. So but when you're on top of it and you can execute on the road, it can feel really good when you do your job at a high level. So tough place to play, but it's worth it if you're on top of your stuff.
Yeah, this is a fascinating game for so many reasons, but the main one is just that there's familiarity, and I think that can cut both ways. You talk about, San Francisco, they know what this environment is. It's not unusual to them, and I think that's an advantage when you go into the playoffs. That when you're a team that you don't spend time in Seattle, and all of a sudden you show up for a playoff game, you go, woo, there's a little bit of that and dealing with the adjustment of it, and so you understand what it's going to be like, and because that communication, talks about the operation, all that stuff, that's just so important, and one of those things that can be massively overlooked and can be such a challenge when you're playing. So to have the familiarity with it is a huge, I think, I don't want to say an advantage, but it's certainly not going to be a disadvantage. It might be a wash maybe for the 49ers. And when you have an opponent that's beat you and has done it at your home, there, from the fan perspective, it's always in the back of your mind. It's like, oh shoot, but it also can be a massively motivating thing for the other side. And the first words out of his mouth were adjust. When you play an opponent twice a year, now it's a third time a year, a division opponent, it's the team that adjusts, and it's usually the team that loses. And they go, what we didn't work. And the team that won goes, well, this worked. Why are we going to change? And I think when you play them so recently, it's hard, you can kind of dial into, well, they're still doing similar stuff. So you have a better chance of kind of knowing what to expect from a team. But it's really the team that makes the adjustment is the one that has the absolute advantage in this game. I marvel at the 49ers. Like I thought this was going to be an absolute disaster year for them. I felt like they were going to play this year like the Kansas City Chiefs. I really felt like losing a lot of production, losing Fred Warner. It just felt like, woo, and they kind of keep losing, George Kittle, massive kind of heartbeat and this motivational guy, and just a guy that kind of keeps everything glued together, not going to be there. I almost think that's almost insurmountable, but there's something really different about Brock Purdy. There's just something about him that there's this, you look at him, he looks like Radar O'Reilly and in MASH. I don't know if you remember MASH, but he just kind of has that, and he's from, just kind of from middle America, just good old farm boy kind of, and just, is so just stealthy. He's just the ninja warrior dressed up, like Radar O'Reilly. And it's almost like, yeah, fine, George Kittle's not, fine. What I just, it doesn't matter to me. I'm just going to go play at a high level, make things happen. And I think for that reason, this team will be in this game. I think it'll be a lot to overcome. Now, whether Fred Warner plays or not, I don't know. And if he does play, really, how impactful can he be? It's just hard. Maybe there's some play. Maybe he gets in, and we'll see. I don't know. I don't know. My instinct tells me to say Seattle's going to win this game. Sam Darnold still not, but they play so phenomenally at defense. They're just so good. So we'll see what happens there. But I guess I have to pick these games. I'm gonna go with Buffalo. By the way, so these are the Saturday games. Buffalo is going to beat the Broncos, and I believe the Seahawks are going to beat the 49ers. There, I said it. You have it. We got New England versus Houston. Give me some stuff on the old Patriots.
Drake, what's it been like this week watching a film festival of the Houston people?
Yeah, they fly around. They're relentless. They're great up front. They're great in the back end. They got great linebackers. They're great all around. They're great coaching. So we got our hands full, and we know it's going to be a tough game. We got to play the game the right way, and we got great players all around. And man, they. All the hype, is fulfilling and is deserving on film. What I've seen. So we got to be able to stay ahead of the chains. And I know we got a tough task, but we're gonna have our hands full and play complimentary football. And from there, just try to find ways to pick up first down, score some points.
What did you get just psychologically out of getting that first playoff win under your belt and out of the way?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it out of the way. Just trying to play, do my part to try to win the game. It's any playoff game's pressure, and trying to play in the postseason, win postseason games is tough in this league. So I was proud to be able to do it in front of a home crowd and with our defense that helped me out and helped us out, a good bit. So I'm gonna do better of not putting the football in harm's way, and from there just try to do my best to score touchdowns in the red zone and stuff like that matters in the postseason even more than the regular season. So do something there and make some throws, but just keep playing football.
Generally speaking, when you have a defense like them, it's going to be a X, Y, or Z, and that's pretty much it. What do you think is the best way to approach things offensively? Kind of a simpler scheme as opposed to a defense that's try to disguise more.
Well, the thing about the Texans is what they do. They're good at it. They're really good at it. They do it a lot. They got different ways. They play some man coverage. They play some zone. They got eyes on the quarterback. They got eyes on creating turnovers. All their guys in the back end are great at getting their hands on the football and catching it when they're somebody throwing it. So they got good players outside. I think for us offensively, just try to stay ahead of the chains. Just scheme wise, I think just do things that we're good at and try to find ways every week to scheme something up if we see it. But at the same time, just try to stay ahead of the chains and know kind of what type of game it is.
All right, there you have it. Drake May. This to me, I think, is the most fascinating game in all of the playoffs. This Houston defense is a real deal. They've caused havoc for some really, really good quarterbacks. Drake May has answered the bell every single time this year, and it's why they're at home. It's why they're playing home playoff games. It's so does that have an impact on this team? Really good defenses typically travel well, and so it's easier to play good defense on the road as well as at home. It's even better at home. But I do think that really helps. I think having that home crowd. I think having that first game under your belt. Actually winning it, I think helps. You feel pressure no matter what, and to feel the extra pressure from a defense, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens in this game. All right, I want to move on to the Bears and the Rams. I actually think New England's going to win this game. I do. I as good as Houston is defensively, I just think that. I don't know. And I'm probably wrong here, and I'm probably wrong because Drake May will now show to be kind of a young, inexperienced quarterback. But I'm going to go with the New England Patriots at home in this game. All right, the Bears and the Rams. Of course, this one is about whether or not Caleb Williams can throw some crazy throw. I mean, you got two quarterbacks here that can really sling it, and will they be able to in the snow? Who knows? Do we have some stuff on the Bears? Why don't you run that if we do?
Caleb, when you went back and watched the 4th and 8 throw to Rome, what was it like just kind of watching it back on tape for you?
Yeah, it was just a good moment. And you know, ended up giving you know, Rome the right football to be able to, you know, allow him to, you know, make the adjustment. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's
What have you thought of the social media, like some of the memes and the word and logo stuff?
Yeah. I've actually, I've had a couple passes like that going left, where I've ended up being in the air, in that way a few times in college and things like that, and high school, and so it's kind of I've been kind of used to it.
I think you've talked in the past about watching Stafford and some of the things he does. What is it in particular that you tried to pattern your game after? And have you met him? Do you know him?
Haven't met, obviously, other than last time we played. Yeah, I mean, he's I mean, at the top of the game right now, and you know, at his age and things like that. And so that's something you can learn from. And then also just I mean, how he plays the game. You know, you drop back and he has what everybody calls snake eyes and things like that. And just knowing defenses, knowing the offense, and being able to move people where you want to move them is something he's been able to do very well. And then trusting and believing in his guys to be in the right position at the right time. And so, you know, learning from that is big.
What are snake eyes?
It's when you're looking at a defender, you'll move him, you'll look here, and then throw it back right behind his eyes or right behind his head. Like I said, kind of moving the defender out the way without actually having anybody near or around him.
Oh, snake eyes. Oh, yeah. Love that one. It's true. And the really good ones are great at it. And it's something I think even has evolved more and more over time. And no one does it better than Patrick Mahomes. Pretty good at it. They all do it. And you know, it's just a thing they do. This is going to be a fascinating game. It feels to me, oh boy, it feels like maybe it's the Rams' year. I wonder if there's any kind of emotional like letdown from a big game, you know, that Chicago had, or if it's one of those like it propels them forward. It's like, okay, we got that out of our system. We gain confidence. We gain a lot of belief from it. And really, I think for Caleb Williams, you know, that fourth down play, really, it was one of those plays. It just feels like it's one of those moments. I'm actually gonna go. Oh, you know, I feel like Matthew Stafford's playing at a really high level right now, a high enough level, and it's a full game level. You know, I don't think he's a guy that's gonna kind of take the foot off the gas kind of thing in this game, in this situation. It's gonna be a tough, brutal game though, as far as the temperature goes. Yeah. Oh boy. We'll just go. I'm gonna go with the Rams. I know. Sorry, Martin. It's just one of those things. I'm going with the Rams. All right. Let's take a break. We come back. We're going to talk a little bit about the bye week and kind of the impact of what it has on a team. Is it a good or bad thing? We'll let you know here in a minute. Here on the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell.
Circulon C1 Series Clad with Scratch Defense Non-Stick. The luxury and confidence of premium clad stainless steel meets Scratch Defense Extreme Non-Stick that won't scratch, ever. With an ultra-thick aluminum core for high-performance heating. Maximize cooking, minimize cleaning. Discover the unmatched durability and elegance of clad stainless steel. Scratch-free, worry-free, forever.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. The grinder mentality that Randy and Brent Habert built into 44 Pro runs deep within our team. Every member shares a passion for the craft, the game, and most importantly, the player. When you step onto the field with a 44 Pro custom glove, you'll feel the difference. It's not just a glove, it's a 44 Pro. Crafted with dedication, made for performance, and built to last. Get your custom glove today at 44pro.com and experience the 44 Pro difference. That's 44pro.com, 44 Pro.
At Mapiful, we believe in celebrating your journey, past, present, and future. Our unique personalized products are designed to boost your confidence, elevate creativity, and honor what matters most. From custom home decor to meaningful gifts, we help you cherish the memories that make you who you are. Visit mapiful.com and start celebrating your story today.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. It's the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here on YouTube. So glad you could join our show. I know I say that every time, and I say it for a reason, because I really am glad you joined the show. I love what I do. I love talking about this. I love sharing this. I love giving you sports the down and dirty way, to me, which is just the way I see it. It's from someone who's lived it. It's from someone who has observed it. It's been a part of me for most of my 58-year life. So always glad to share my observations, my experience with you. And when you tune in, it means a lot to me. So thank you. And I want to be grateful for what I have, and I am very grateful. So, and if you please like us, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Okay. A few years ago, Tom Brady was, he got this, he quit playing football after umpteen million years and a whole grundle of Super Bowls. And he started his broadcasting career. And people were kind of, on him. He was kind of stiff, rough. He was all these different things, yada, yada, yada. And people, some rolled their eyes, some didn't, whatever. I was super elated about the idea of Tom Brady being in the broadcast booth, and simply from the perspective of no one ever on this planet, ever, at any point, has had the experience of football like Tom Brady. Nobody. Nobody's been to 10 Super Bowls. Nobody's won 7 Super Bowls. No one's had no one that comes close to it. Now, there are a lot of people who've experienced it, a lot of people that watched it, a lot of people that have had levels of experience in professional football in many capacities, and all of them very capable, and all of them, a lot of people I respect, I listen to, I enjoy. But I was so excited for Tom Brady because I wanted to see and hear his perspective, because it's like nobody on the planet. I'd love, it's like people that go to the moon, what was that like, kind of thing, or, people that have just had these very unique, insightful experiences that no one else has. So I was excited. I'm always excited. I love to listen to what Tom Brady has to say. And some of it's, it's, I think the funniest thing that I heard him say, but not, is that he said, look, when they're deep, throw it short. When they're short, throw it deep. It's like, if they're inside, run it outside. If they're outside, run it inside. If they're, it's not a super complicated game. And I don't think that it is. And I know that sounds like a very elementary philosophy, but it's not. It's like we make things way too hard in life sometimes. So I wanted to talk into a little bit of detail about the bye week in the playoffs, not during the regular season, like getting at the end of the year, getting this 1 week, and what really is the value of it? Is it really an advantage all the time? Is it a detriment? What actually is it? And here's a guy who's had more of them than anyone. This is what he had to say about bye weeks.
Seattle, I would not want to buy. Same with Denver. I'm not a big buy fan. Did you like the extra time, or did you just want to keep playing?
It is not a week of rest. It's a week of preparation. To me, it was like, what can we get done during this week that's going to give us an advantage for the following week? I always thought was really important. I felt like I was really fresh. Obviously, Sean Payton with what he's done. And, young Mike McDonald as a coach, kind of the valuable experience that he's gained from last year into this year. Seattle's been tremendous on defense. They're going to Seattle and trying to win with that crowd noise. That is a very, very tough out to try to get Seattle out of the playoffs.
See, this is what I mean by interesting or insightful, and that it wasn't a week of rest. And you heard I think it was Bo Nix who said, "No, we got a week of rest. We got a week off." And I think that's the perception. And I don't, maybe Bo Nix didn't mean that, or who knows what he meant. But to have time to reflect during a season, to have time to kind of regather yourself, to really work on something, and maybe it's not everything, but maybe it's just something. Maybe it's just that little moment, that little edge that you normally can't fix, or you can't get better at, because you're in the grind of, okay, we're on to next week, and that's it's a real thing. You can't fix all the problems. You can't really get off in the weeds in too many things. And I love that whole perspective. I love that whole insight that he had, because I think a lot of people look at it and they just go, oh yeah, we'll just take this whole week off. And so it was fascinating. Again, to me, the bye week is like, okay, what who benefits from this at this point? Which team actually gets the benefit of everything? And so you have really the Broncos and the Seahawks are the two teams that got byes this year. And is it worth it? And I think when you can answer that question, then you go, it really matters, the regular season. Like, if it doesn't really matter, if it's like, yeah, it's not that much of an advantage, then okay, it's okay if we slide into this as the number 2 seed, or maybe it's better for us to play a week or not. So I just find it fascinating to get Tom Brady's insight. Now, Colin Cowherd, that was on the Colin Cowherd show, by the way, and I like Colin Cowherd. He goes, I don't like bye weeks. All right, it's like I get both sides of it. I get the whole rhythm part of it, and I always kind of feel, or tend to feel, that younger quarterbacks, younger teams, more inexperienced teams need that. Just don't give them any time off. Don't give them a chance to think about things, to reflect on things, to slow down. It's like, we're going, let's just keep this thing going, kind of thing. I think there's an advantage to it, but I think there's a real advantage to not, to actually do what Tom Brady said, to actually get a chance to rest, to get reflect and do all that. So fascinating. I think that's going to be a big factor in who wins this weekend. We shall find out. All right, there's a bunch of things happening outside of, I don't know if it's outside of football, but it's certainly, it is actually. So Kyle Tucker, so kind of shifting gears here for a minute. Kyle Tucker, of course, is heading to the LA Dodgers with a 4-year, $240 million deal. And supposedly, allegedly, or, it looks like it's happening. I believe it is. And it's fascinating. Kind of, part of it to me is, of course, Kyle Tucker was really the highest rated free agent. He does a tremendous job for solidifying the Dodgers as one of the best teams in the league, both out in the field and at the plate. And so, the rich get richer type of thing. The Dodgers are willing to pay the luxury tax. That's not an issue. I mean, it's a nice thing, because the Dodgers have a massive fan base, myself included. And, they've won two Super Bowls, 2 World Series in the past 2 years. And that's a hard thing to do in Major League Baseball, is to continue that. They've strengthened themselves in their bullpen and with their pitching staff, because that was a little bit of a weakness for them. And yet they seem to have solidified, seem to be ready to make another run at this. But I think the fascinating thing about this story to me is the length of the contract. And there's these, so many of these guys are doing these long-term contracts, and it might be a little bit more user friendly for the team, maybe not, and because people are like, these players get into a time when there's the potential of injury, the production goes down, and it just seems more and more contracts are shorter lengths in Major League Baseball, which to me kind of goes back to my philosophy when I played football, and always felt like shorter term contracts were a better way to go, simply because. And so the question is you just have to bet on yourself, right? You have to say, I've got to show an ability to play right now. And usually you do. I mean, it's not like you're, oh yeah, I'm going to have a bad year this year and then I'll have a good year next year kind of thing. It's like, if you have any confidence in yourself, if you feel like you're in a good situation, because you always want to be able to have the ability to strike when the iron is hot. And I just look at and understand Patrick Mahomes, the long-term contract. I believe it was almost for like 10 years. It was, it was twice the amount of most people's whole careers in the NFL. A lot of it guaranteed money, but in one regard, it kind of helps the Kansas City Chiefs. It helps them to get other players, to sign other players. But it also, from Patrick Mahomes, he immediately is now in the middle of the pack as far as his average salary per year, and it immediately becomes a bad deal. And so just being able to have that flexibility of changing your and really leveraging when things go well. Now, if they aren't going well, then it can be bad for you. But I think most guys' careers tend to go in an upward trajectory. Most guys, at least established guys. I'm not talking about like some rookie unproven type of situation. So it's fascinating to see kind of how this is playing out on both sides of it, for teams, for the players. It's like it feels like everyone's just we're going to make a big splash for a short period of time, and then we'll readjust this. Now I got $65 million in a signing bonus. It's not like and these contracts typically are not like NFL contracts, but the shorter duration of contracts seems to be a trend happening in baseball. Maybe it's in football. I'm a big proponent. I've said this before. I don't think quarterbacks they just should be exempt. They just should be exempt from the salary cap. I think so many teams. I think the league, I think play would be better. You could have, you just have a lot of teams with really good players on them. You don't have, you're not like limited. You don't have to get rid of players. Players can stay. There's continuity. There's on the field continuity, but there's also, it's like, yeah, we got this really good player, but we can't put anyone around him. So he's, probably going to get the crap beat out of him, or something's going to happen. I just think to look and again, the NFL is doing amazing and wonderful, but it can do better, right? It can do better in a lot of ways. It can do better with this on the field play. It can do better with officiating. There's always things, and I think the NFL is trying and does work towards getting. Now that the Pro Bowl sucks, okay, that's bad. It's not good anymore. It's horrible. It's terrible. You need to change, and you need to fix that. So get on it right now. Okay. Let's see. What do we have here? So they're floating this expansion idea with the college football playoffs, and next year to 16 teams. Now, there's debate. So you have all of the, I want to say, I think it's 8 or 10. So these conferences. And then Notre Dame. There's always and then Notre Dame, which is I'm kind of picking on Martin today. I really apologize to Martin, my producer. He's a Notre Dame Chicago Bear fan. So by the way, he's happy Kyle Tucker is gone from the Chicago Cubs. Doesn't like them at all, just in case you all were wondering. So all these conferences have to get together, and Notre Dame, and they have to make a decision about the possibility of expanding the playoffs for college football. And they've been given till I think the 23rd of January, which is coming up. And there's a lot of I guess momentum for 16, possibly 24 team playoff. A lot of people are like, it's not going to matter. It's not going to change anything. Same teams are always going to be there. But I don't think that's the case anymore. I don't think it's the case at all. And I was like, okay with 16 teams. I might be okay with 24. And I think 24 again, but there's like, just do the smart thing, people. So the whole argument is really about how many teams qualify automatically. How do the group of 5 schools fit into this type of thing? And I love the idea of having, automatic qualifiers, right? So we're Big 12 people, and we would love to get 2 of our teams in every year automatically, and maybe more. Who's to say that isn't the case? But I think if you had an expanded playoffs to 24, and you had a reasonable number of guaranteed teams in your conference. But I'm going to go back to something that still drives me absolutely bananas. Like it just, I hate it, and and I always talk about it. I don't care. I want to talk about it. I want you to hear about it. I want the whole world to hear about it. I'm so sick and tired of this subjective, because again, basis of things, and that is the standings, the polls, that's still going to determine who gets in the playoffs. I mean, you're going to have the conference winners, clearly that they're going to get in. So you can get in by playing your way in, but most teams, a lot of teams are going to get in by just how the committee thinks they are. And whoever, whatever, I guess the college football playoff committee, I guess they're going to still choose this. And it's a broad-based group of people, so it's not one conference, but it's hard enough to pay attention to the teams that make it like 12. How are you going to keep track of 24 teams? I just think that's a really hard thing to do. Like how do you, and again, it's all subjective. It's just so stupid. Just have it where you play and have everyone, everyone really needs to get on board and have a consistent league of college teams, and not all these different conferences and all this stuff. It's weird. But so why I also don't like this subjective side of it is you're going to get teams that go, why would we play anyone? Like, what's the advantage? Like, there's, if we're going to automatically qualify, and if we're just going to be, so you're just going to get a lot of fluff from conferences like the Big Ten and the SEC again. You just are. The fluff's just going to come from a lot of teams that don't play anyone. They're not incentivized to play anyone. They play one team a year, and they're going to lose in their conference to Georgia or Alabama or, Ohio State or whatever. But they don't care, because they'll go 11-1, 10-2. They're going to be, in a top 25 position or top 16 position. And just as long as early on and throughout the season, they just win these kind of easy games. And so you're disincentivized by this subjectiveness of college football to do anything. And I think that's really stupid. I don't like it. All right. Last thing before I get to my next segment here is there's a whole bunch of college basketball players. I believe there were like 26 or actually 17 Division I teams where 39 players were a part of a point shaving scheme. And I wonder, earlier on in the show, I talked about this whole idea of how money is actually, I believe, disincentivizing players to go to the next level. Like, they're willing to stay in college longer because they're making pretty good money. and they realize that it's better for them. And I just, so I see this continues to be an issue with gambling. I don't know that it ever goes away. Actually, there are 26 players, sorry, who actually have been alleged to this issue. And it's oh boy, it's a sad deal. I don't understand. I don't know. But it's one of those things where, it's a point shaving thing, right? It's not like a win or loss thing. And I think that's the slippery slope that we go down. Well, you start with, look, you're not going to lose the game. You're just going to win it by less than what you thought. You just want to make the, the over under, or you want to make the, the line, whatever it is. You just want to skew it against, or in whatever favor we tell you to do. And so the players are like, well, okay, so I still play hard, I still win. It just doesn't seem like anything's going on, but actually we're just kind of, we're cheating. And I think that's the slippery slope that's really dangerous to go down, where it's this compromise, it's this rationalization of things that, and why we love sports. What makes us great as a nation is when there's this pure competition, when there's this pure motive, when everyone's striving to be the best they possibly can be, then you start seeing this greatness in people. You start seeing great events happen. You start seeing a lot of change. What and it goes across the board. I mean, it's not just in sports; it's just in every aspect of our life. When people are pushed to excellence, and they're not compromising, or they're not minimizing their effort in the event of cheating or gambling or whatever it is. It's and I know gambling's a big thing in the world, and I think a lot of people like the idea of gambling, knowing that if I am a gambler, I want to know that the fix isn't in. I want to know that these are just two competitors going at it the very best they possibly can be, and that's appealing to me. I'm not a gambler. I don't understand it. I don't like it. I really don't. But it's this slippery slope that we start going down, I think, really makes it's not a good thing. All right. Hey, we've got believe it or not, we have another NFL news and notes right around the corner when the Down and Dirty returns here with Scott Mitchell on YouTube.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us in our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone, and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Welcome to Kitbag, the ultimate destination for football fans. Whether you're cheering for Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, or any other top club, we've got your team's colors running through our veins. From official replica kits to custom player prints of your favorite stars like Ronaldo, Messi, and Kane, Kitbag is your one-stop shop for all things football. Powered by Fanatics, we deliver to over 180 countries, ensuring you get the gear you need fast. For true football passion, think Kitbag. Visit kitbag.com today. That's KITBAG.com. Kitbag.
Farmhound's approach is a little different than a traditional treat company. We get to work with local farmers who are putting everything they can into regenerative farming. From the soil to the animals to the ecosystem. They care about how animals are raised and how we treat the earth. It's not just product, but it's part of that story. It's connected to just a whole lot more.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. It's the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here on YouTube. So glad you could join us, be a part of our show. Of course, like and subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And be sure to tip your waiter. All right, the NFL News of Notes Part 2 is up right now. Of course, we did a lot of previews of the upcoming NFL games this weekend, which is super exciting. It's also disappointing. It's funny how the games get more important. It's more exciting, but there's fewer of them. And so the meaning means so much more. I love that moment. I think one of the as a fan watching, when the teams realize they are going to the Super Bowl, like it's and the game's still going on. They're either ahead by a lot or whatever, or the game's already decided, but it's not over time wise, and you can see the realization. You can see the realization, or it comes down to the wire and everyone's just on their seat because they all know what's on the line. And every stinking person who plays professional football, they all want to go to the Super Bowl. I honestly believe it might be the best league for a desire of its players to go win a championship, to have that ring. Like the ring in the NFL is just the thing. And man, and so everyone wants that. And I just love that. I love that moment. And of course, we're getting really close to it. I mean, it's just funny. It's like you look at each one of the conferences, and there's 4 teams. That's it of each conference. The 16 teams there's 4 that are there, and so it's not like you got rid of most of them, and they just got to get you got to figure out how to beat 2 of these 4 teams, and you go to the Super Bowl, and I just love that. All right, so we've got some interesting news in the NFL that is not actually a part of this weekend. Well, it is. Some of it is, but it's now Patrick Mahomes has come out and said that he should be ready to play by week 1. Of course, he said he wants to be ready for this next season. I think injuries with some of these great players certainly are a fascinating aspect of the game. And a lot of times they come back better. Sometimes they come back kind of neutral, and sometimes they come back not at all, or in a diminished way. And here Patrick Mahomes really, I think the NFL is in good hands. It's in broad hands. And by that I mean, it's not necessarily relying on one player. There's a lot of really, really good quality players in the league right now that are liked, that are popular, that people look to. But Patrick Mahomes has kind of been the face of all of this. And so it'll be fascinating to watch and see how he actually comes back from the situation that he's been in. It's an ACL tear. They take some time. Every individual is different, and so we'll see, because it did happen late in the year, and of course it's it's going to be next September, but still it's a long time for that to happen, and then to kind of see where he is. Patrick Mahomes' game. One of the things I think that's fascinating about Patrick Mahomes, and really all these great players that play quarterback, is that he's not a dual threat guy. He's not a Lamar Jackson. I don't think he's a Josh Allen. I think he's more an opportunist as far as when it comes to running. I think Patrick Mahomes would like to extend plays. He's an extender, is what he is. He's not a dual threat. He's an extender quarterback, and basically he extends time. He extends the pocket. He moves in the attempt to still throw the football. And for him, what's so fascinating is no one does it better than he does. I don't think anyone's done it better than Patrick Mahomes, like, ever, extending the pocket. Now, there are guys that were like magicians moving in the pocket. Tom Brady was one of them. Tom Brady could not run out of a paper sack. His 40 time is a sundial, time. And he knows it, but he was masterful at understanding where to go with football and just giving himself moving around enough. Now there were times he ran and scrambled and all that stuff. But everyone is going to do that, but not on a consistent basis, not like, hey, this is part of my game. Marino, same way. Marino was like, it was awesome to watch. Awesome to how he moved in the pocket and just bought enough time. For and here's the thing with like a guy like Dan Marino, amazing athlete. Like he's 10 times the athlete that Tom Brady is. And he probably could have run, actually, but he didn't. It's maybe I'll talk about that a little bit right now. I don't think I was, but I'm going to now. When I mentioned a guy like Dan Marino, and you'll have anyone who's ever played the position of quarterback will tell you, no one threw it like Dan Marino. They just didn't. No one. And it was a sight to behold. And I had the privilege of watching it up close for 4 years. And it was awesome. It was phenomenal to see his preparation, to see his how he thought and saw the game, how it was just on a level that just was different than most people. And yet there's always seems to be this knock on some of these players, like that they're not legendary, right? Like what really makes a legendary player? And I think Patrick Mahomes, one of the, probably one of the all-time greats even at this point in his career with what he's done. And everyone says, well, all quarterbacks are measured by the fact that they won Super Bowls. And so you're a legendary quarterback if you won a Super Bowl. Well, Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl. Mark Rippon won a Super Bowl. Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. Are they legendary players? I mean, I would take the shoes of any one of those guys personally. I didn't win a Super Bowl. I'd kill to win a Super Bowl. And I think anyone in their right mind would say, well, no, they're not better than Dan Marino. Well, but they won Super Bowls. So is it really, if you're a legendary player, if you're a great player, is that, yeah, you won a Super Bowl? Or is it guys like Ken Anderson or a guy like Boomer Esiason or some of these guys that, had pretty great career. I mean, David Craig played for umpteen billion years with almost every team in the NFL. I mean, there's a lot of guys that had these, really, really good careers. And David Craig, as far as, if you looked at him up against Dan Marino, you would say, no, there's a big difference there. But there really, in some regards, isn't. In that David Craig was massively productive. I also played with Dave Craig, and he goes, I just remember him having a conversation going, if I don't play better, I'm doing terrible. I am doing terrible. And if I don't play better, I'm going to get cut. And this was when we both were in Detroit. And then I got injured, broke my wrist, put on IR, and he came in and he was just spectacular. And he showed no sign of that before, like during the wily veteran guy. I mean, I'll give you another guy, Steve DeBerg. I mean, I think one of the great quarterbacks of all time. And I don't think people look at Steve DeBerg and go, oh, he's a legend. But man, he was in a lot of places. He was with the Denver Broncos. He was with the 49ers. He was with the Kansas City Chiefs. He was with the Atlanta Falcons. He was with a lot of teams. He was in Miami. Like, I marveled at the time I got to spend with Steve DeBerg. I really did. I was just massively impressed with him and how he was as a quarterback. But is he a legend? or you get a guy like Jim Kelly. I mean, Jim Kelly, the K gun, well, he lost 4 Super Bowls. So is he not a legend? I mean, I don't know. It's just an interesting topic about these players who, you know, and I think one of the things too that happens with players is over time there's this recency bias, and you forget how great these players were. It's almost like their time didn't exist, and it's really easy to kind of get looked over. Or, well, back in his era, in his day, I mean, like Johnny Unitas. Johnny Unitas was the gold standard forever, and Johnny Unitas is almost feels like a footnote now, as far as being remembered as one of these truly greats. And I'm not sure why we do that. I'm not sure. It's almost one of these things where someone should put together something about keeping the legends alive. And maybe I'll do that on the show here. Just so people can appreciate that, they can understand that, they can I guess get educated to the greatness of a lot of these players, that it really gets diminished over time. Now you go back. I love to watch old footage of the NFL. I love it. Like I love the history of this league. I love the stories. I just love all of it. And the stories, when you learn a lot of the stories, you're like, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that about this guy. I didn't know that's a great story. That's and everyone has a story, right? Everyone has their path to wherever they get, and it's just so fascinating, fun to hear it all. But I would love for people to really gain an appreciation for some of these players. But when I go back and I watch this film, I go, wow, like it was such a different game. It was just it was a different game, and how how Johnny Unitas played. Or you watch some of this old footage of guys like Joe Namath, or Otto Graham, or Sonny Jurgensen, or some of these, and just that were really great players, and they were legendary players, and yet they just seem to be forgotten with time, because the game has changed and evolved in so many ways. The rules are different, the way players train, the athleticism, the evolution of all of this stuff, and yet it all had its origin with some of these, at the time, these legendary players who were really, when they were in their prime, were just, they were just phenomenal. I was thinking about what it took for us to land on the moon, right? And basically it was a computer that was had about the same power and capacity of a calculator, and we put someone on the moon. And now, what would that look like if we went back to the moon, and the technology we have, the video footage that we could get, the in-depthness of what we could learn from all of this would just be so fascinating. And that's the evolution of sports as well. For its time, it was like, wow, this was amazing. And there's another aspect of it that is also fascinating, and it's the connection of the history to the past, right? And by this I mean, and I'll just use an experience that kind of is close to me, and my time in the NFL. So you have Don Shula, who drafted me and was the coach of the Miami Dolphins, and considered, one of the greatest coaches of all time. And even coaches have kind of been diminished, because it's like, Shula, he's won a lot of games, but Belichick is the guy now, and you have some of these Tom Landrys and Chuck Knowles, and that, yeah, they were, but it's sad to me that it feels like the legendary greatness of so many is so diminished in our world today. I find it sad, but I love the connection to the past. And when one of the things that the example from my experience was Coach Shula. Of course, he coached for the Baltimore Colts, and that's fascinating in and of itself. In that Shula was the coach when Weeb Eubank, of course, the coach for the New York Jets, beat the Baltimore Colts, and the AFL finally had a team win a Super Bowl. And of course, the vaunted NFL, and the arrogance and the tradition. How dare another team descend upon us and win a championship? And Shula, who's considered the greatest of all time, was on the losing end of that with a guy named Johnny Unitas. And Johnny Unitas called all of his own plays in practice. And there was this whole process of a system that they developed with the Colts. Well, Coach Shula goes to the Miami Dolphins, and he introduces a lot of those similar concepts to his team there. And so then you start developing this offense and this ideology and this system, and you have a guy like Paul Warfield, who wide receiver, and you have a system, and then that system gets passed down to guys like Nat Moore and Jimmy Cephalo, and then that gets passed down to Mark Duper and Mark Clayton, and it goes all the way. And so it goes through generations of the NFL. And this whole idea, and there's a story from Dan Fouts, right? And so Dan Fouts was teammates with Johnny Unitas because he got traded to the San Diego Chargers, and his comment to Dan Fouts is drop back as fast as you can. Like it's just that they just get, that was the thing. And you watch Dan Fouts' career and how he, and here he turned that into this whole Hall of Fame career for Dan Fouts, and just this whole idea of dropping back fast. And that was the advice that I got from Dan Marino: drop back as fast as you can. And it wasn't a joke. It wasn't like, it was serious. It was like, that is the thing. The faster you can drop back, the better off you'll actually play. And there's a whole discussion about what that looks like or means. But yeah, it was actually a real thing in kind of in the evolution of the NFL. And it just goes back to these roots, and back to this time. Now, there was another thing that was really cool for me personally in my career. And when I went back and started looking at old footage, and I don't go back like way back, or sometimes I do it but here was the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Steelers had this dynasty, right, in the 70s and early 80s, the early dynasty of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they were playing against a team. Clay Matthews was like a young player playing against Terry Bradshaw and Franco Harris and all these guys. And then in my career, when I first started playing, I played against Clay Matthews, and it was just, and I began to realize that Clay Matthews goes back generations in football, and where you're playing against players who, go back to, to the 70s, 60s, all this stuff. And it's just a really cool thing when you're a player and you're a part of that. You're a part of this deep history and tradition and all of this greatness, and you have the opportunity to go out there and to be a part of it. And then that tradition moves forward. The other day here, I have a conversation with one of my former coaches who coached 48 years in the NFL and coached from Bradshaw to Tom Brady, and talked about some of the things that we did as a team when I was with the Detroit Lions that he carried with him forward. And so I see these things, some of these concepts, even with Tom Brady playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and watching Peyton Manning execute some similar concepts and really philosophy about offense that we really kind of developed when I was with the Detroit Lions, or perfected, or And so it's just that whole connectedness uh, is just a fascinating part of what I love about the NFL. And one of the things the NFL now does is that they basically say, if you played, you're legend. You're a legend. You're a legend in the NFL, and I think that's kind of a cool thing. It's a cool fraternity to be a part of. In the history of time, there's only been 15,000 players ever in the NFL, and that says a lot, and it says something. And I don't know, it just meant a lot to me. But I just got thinking about this whole concept of legends and who really is a legend and who really isn't. So I hope you enjoyed that. I don't know, it just kind of went down a rabbit hole on that and thought that was kind of interesting. Speaking of interesting, when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the crazy statistics that are happening. So that should be a lot of fun. We'll do that and so much more when the Down and Dirty returns here on YouTube.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. It's the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here on YouTube. Of course, we're part of 365 Sports and Rogue Media. And Zach, one of our producers during the break, actually asked me a question. I'd talked about the legendary players, Johnny Unitas, the whole thing. And he said, do you mind me asking you a question about something I came across that I thought it was quite interesting? Of course, it was about when I was traded from the Detroit Lions to the Baltimore Ravens. In my whole entire life, I've worn the number 19. As you can see, the jerseys in the background from all the different teams I played on. And the reason I wore number 19 is I made the varsity baseball team as a freshman in high school. I was a pitcher and lefty. Throw him the heater, Ricky. Anyways, and of course, when you get your jerseys for the team, I got the last jersey because I was a freshman. And so the last jersey was number 19 because nobody wanted the number. And it just became my number. From that moment on, I was just number 19. I just loved the number. I've always loved the number. It's always been my number. I had it all the way through high school. I had it all the way through college. Every team I played on in the NFL. It's funny, my kids who have been in sports, they take the number 19. It's wrapped around the culture of my life. It's just part of who I am. Number 19. It's always meant something. to me. And it's just one of those things. It's just I got to have my number. So I go to the Baltimore Ravens, who, of course, Johnny Unitas was number 19, which even made it more meaningful for me to be number 19. Had the privilege of spending a decent amount of time with Johnny Unitas when I went to Baltimore. My agent, who's been on our program before, Tony Agnon, is in Baltimore, and of course, he worked with Johnny on some things that Johnny was doing through the NFL and representing Johnny Unitas. And we got a chance to go to lunch a couple of times, and it was just awesome. It was just what a great conversation. Really wish, of course, Johnny Unitas was still around. He would definitely be on the show. We'd have great conversations. But the people there thought it was sacrilegious that I would take the number 19, because this was Baltimore. This was Johnny Unitas's town. His number was retired. And how dare you have that number 19? There were just a lot. I mean, there were a lot of people that were very upset by it. Now, it wasn't the Colts. The Colts had their team. The Colts they were now in Indianapolis. The records, all of that went with the team. It was part of the team. The Ravens were a new team. It was funny. Art Modell was just like, please wear the number 19. Like he was taking a lot of, he wanted the Ravens to be different than the Colts. And so I was like, and so I went to lunch with Johnny Unitas and I said, look, how do you feel about this? Because I'll not wear the number 19. If this means something to you and it's offensive in any way or whatever, then I'll absolutely not wear the number 19. And he goes, I don't care at all. He goes, I think it's the dumbest thing in the world. He goes, I would be honored if you wore the number 19. And that's how I felt about it. It was like, just like fans go in the stands and they pick their team, their favorite player, and they wear the jersey, because they're a fan of that player. And that's part of how it felt like to me. It was kind of like, I'm as big a fan of Johnny Unitas as anyone in the world. And to be able to wear that same number certainly meant a lot to me. Now, didn't win a championship, and my time in Baltimore was very short. And I was glad I wore the number. It's something that means a lot to me throughout my career. And people, were kind of upset about it, and I was going to be respectful of whatever. But if Johnny Unitas was okay about it, then everyone else should be okay about it. And they were, and he was, or I don't know if they were. Maybe they're not, even to this day. And quite frankly, I don't care. But I'm glad I'm glad I wore it, and more than anything, I'm glad I was able to spend some time with a guy like Johnny Unitas. And we had unbelievable conversations, and a lot of it was about philosophy and play calling. He called his own plays, and about Coach Shula, and it was just a really cool time. Okay, we're going to bring in none other than our resident expert on so many things, and of course, most of all, he's a Chicago Bears and a Fighting Irish fan, not a fan of the Cubs. Sorry to all you folks out there that are. So Martin is going to join us here, and Martin has some crazy statistics that we're going to talk about. So Martin, tell us, what are the crazy statistics we have this week?
Yeah, so I pulled these stats up, and so the Bears, the Rams, and the Bills set an NFL record for the most comebacks within the final 2 minutes in a single round in NFL history. That's the first stat we're going to start with.
And this just happened like this last week.
Yes, this just happened last week. Of course, it was 4 true comebacks that happened last week, but these are the first 3 to happen within the final 2 minutes. The 49ers came back against the Eagles. Second stat is, of course, I'm going to be a little bit of a homer here. Chicago Bears tight end Colson Loveland is the second tight end in NFL history, next to Rob Gronkowski, to have 10 catches and over 130 yards in a playoff game.
So that's the only other time, with all the great tight ends that there are, and Loveland, it looks like he's going to be a good one.
Yeah,
he's out of Michigan. He was their first round draft choice, and it almost felt like Caleb would. Like, I've always had the belief, and it's even more so today. Your best friend in the world is your tight end. And I have a theory as to why, right? part of it is the tight end is kind of right in front of your face. When you're a quarterback, you draw back and the pocket is right there. And so a lot of the throws, a lot of where that tight end is going to be it's in the easiest field of vision that you can actually see. And a lot of times, and especially with a talented player like Colson Loveland, is that they have a matchup problem, right? Because usually the best defenders are kind of on the outside. So tight ends for you young people can be your friend. All right, keep going.
All right, another one is Sam Darnold and Bo Nix are the only quarterbacks in the playoffs currently to not have a playoff win. Sam is 0 for 2 and Bo Nix is 0 for 1. Everyone else has at least a playoff win under their belt. And then the final one is the NFC West.
Oh, hang on.
Go ahead.
So Sam and Bo are the only quarterbacks in the play. So does
Right now, currently not to have a playoff win. So Caleb with his win last week.
Caleb won last week. Oh,
Caleb
yeah.
won last week. Drake May won last week. CJ Stroud obviously has
one
his third
before.
playoff win.
Yeah. What's fascinating about this right here too is Sam Darnold and Bo Nix also had bye weeks.
Yes, they did.
And so it'll be fascinating to see. I'm just fascinated with bye weeks. If you haven't noticed this week, I think it's a thing and it's a real thing. And I love the impact it has both for and against wins. And when you have two relatively inexperienced quarterbacks who were on bye weeks, we'll see what happens with those guys this week.
If you didn't start 0 for 3, you may have gotten a bye week one time in your NFL playoff.
Ooh, listen to you. Yeah, good point. Yeah. If only,
If only you didn't start 0 for 3. All right.
Yes. But just so you know, I think there were at the time there were like 2 teams in the history of the NFL that had started 0 and 3 and made the playoffs. We became number 3, buddy.
Yeah. So you got to keep working hard, Scott. You got to keep working harder, Scott. That's it. All right. So since the NFL playoffs, since the NFL expanded to 4 divisions, okay.
Yes.
The NFC West is now the 4th division in NFL history to have 3 teams make it to the second round of the playoffs. That includes the 2017 NFC South, 2020 AFC North, 2022 NFC East, and now the 2025 NFC West. 3 teams have made it from the same division.
3 of the 4.
Yeah, 3 of the 4. No division has made it with 4 for 4, but you never know one day.
Yeah. So in my time in Detroit, we had 4 teams make the playoffs. We had one year it was Minnesota, Green Bay, Detroit, Chicago, and the other team was Tampa Bay. And then the next time it was Tampa Bay, Minnesota, Green Bay, Detroit, Minnesota and Tampa. Yeah. But see, to me, that's that's one of those things that kind of goes both ways too, because you go, man, y'all played in a great division. Like it's, it really is, to me, it's impressive that you actually had that many teams play. And so you go, you talked about, it would be nice to get a home playoff game. And then at the time you had the San Francisco 49ers who were playing the Cardinals. They were playing the Saints. They were playing the Rams. They were playing the Falcons. They were, their division, the NFC West was a garbage division. So they had like guaranteed 8 wins a year just because they had, and they just had a much easier schedule, which made it easier for them to get home games. So the fact that 2 of these teams are still in the playoffs speaks volumes of how tough that division is. So I love it. Those were great stats.
Yep.
All right, that's all you got for me?
That's all I got.
All right. Really quickly, 4 games this weekend. I made my picks. So what do you got? What does the great Martin Kelly have for picks for NFL?
So I got one upset to begin with. I got Buffalo upsetting Denver. I think experience is going to matter more. So that I got another upset. I'm going to take the Niners over Seattle.
Ooh.
I think just because San Francisco offensively, to me, will be the better team and be the more prepared team. I think I'm with you. I think playing every week matters more. We saw it with the college football playoffs. Just having a bye week doesn't mean everything. So, um, and then I'll take New England over Houston. I think, Mike Vrabel is the Bill Belichick 2.0. He's going to have that defense ready. He's going to have that offense ready. Yeah, Drake May was a little nervous last week. I agree. But I believe the New England Patriots will settle down and will find a way to beat this very tough Houston Texans defense. And of course, I'll be a homer. I'll be a biased one. I'm taking the Bears over the Rams. Okay, look, Matt
Might not
Stafford's
be wrong on
record.
that.
No. I mean, Matt Stafford's record in the cold is 1-for-9, and of course, he has a losing record at Soldier Field. It doesn't matter if he played just with the Lions; he has a losing record with the Rams as well at Soldier Field. So he cannot figure out how to beat us in the Windy City. So unfortunately, he'll have to get back on his big jet and go back to the sunny side, California, with a loss. So. Bears, Niners, and it'll be New England and Buffalo for the title games.
Oh, that could be fun. All right, great stuff. Appreciate it. Hey, appreciate all of you. This is all we have for today. Thank you for tuning in to the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell. Have a great weekend. Enjoy all of your sports and your life. And until then, we'll see you then.
We are Rogue Media Sports.